Good evening, everybody. Today is Wednesday, October 26, 2022. It is 5:15 precisely. This is the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. I myself, Brian Chalik, is here. Betsy Parkinson's here. Damon Gassaway's here. Jenna Francisconi's here. JT McDermott is absent. I think he's working.
Correct.
So we are in good shape there. Public comment. Anybody have any public comment? John, nothing? Hearing none, I close public comment. Exactly at 5, I see now 5:15. Minutes, September 28th, 2022, regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Any corrections, deletions?
Nope. I'd like to make a motion to approve the September 28th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Claims 2022. Our claim docket for today. You'll notice it was increased by a little bit from the original one. Not that much. You all had a chance to look at it. Any questions? Comments? Additions, subtractions?
Looks good to me.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims docket for today's meeting, 10/26/2022.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Claims pass 4-0. Moving right along here. Old business. Monroe Streetscape Design Update. That's you, my friend.
Yep. So the first thing to let you guys know about is we'd like to have a joint workshop of the Redevelopment Commission and the bid board to present you with the progress that's been made thus far as the streetscape design and get some additional feedback from both bodies with regard to ultimately picking out the street furniture, lighting, planners, that kind of thing. We had a meeting of the long-term planning committee, which Betsy sits on with me and members from the bid board and other staff, and had a very long presentation that provided a lot of information, but we've kind of narrowed that down. We have a little bit of an idea, I think, of the direction we want to go, but we want to get some additional feedback. So we thought it would be best to have a joint workshop between the two bodies immediately following a very short meeting of the bid board on Monday, November 14th. So their meeting's at 5, but immediately following their meeting. So I wanted to make sure that's okay with you guys and invite you if that's something you're interested in, then I'll go ahead and advertise accordingly. But that's, we thought that would be the best way to spend everyone's time, since ultimately, obviously, the Redevelopment Commission might be a source of funding to help make some of those improvements happen in the future years. And then the bid board obviously involved in terms of maintenance and that sort of thing going forward. So we thought that those two bodies, were the most appropriate ones to keep on board as we go forward. So what we're doing from this point forward is we've developed a concept for the plaza area that we talked about at the corner of Monroe and Lincoln Way, but we want to use the remainder of the funds to develop what's called a pattern book for the streetscape, which would take a look at what the actual streetscape elements themselves would be: benches, lighting, planters, pavers, all those kind of things, what they look like and what each block would consist of in terms of each of those elements, so that as we go forward in the future and do either a wholesale renovation of the downtown streetscape, or, through a larger source of funding, or do it block by block or as money, becomes available. We have a plan that we follow in order to do that. So the pattern book is basically a way of saying the blueprint, for what that looks like in the future. And that's what we intend to do with the remainder of the funds that we have in our contract, is put that together. But, so the purpose would be, like I said, for additional feedback from you guys and from the bid board. We got a lot of good feedback from the long-term planning committee members, and we appreciate that, but we just want to make sure we have everybody up to speed. So that's, if you have any questions, otherwise that's what I have to report on the,
So that's November 14th.
November 14th.
At 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m. immediately following the
Here.
regular bid board meeting here. So I'll go ahead and advertise that.
That's good with me. I think we should be there,
Yeah, so, okay,
if it's all possible.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Clear Lake Loop Project update.
I know
That's
this one,
Nick.
yeah, I know this one's been dragging on, but we want to make sure we get it right. So, we got hopefully our last round of comments back to the consultant, end of last week, and they're incorporating all of those, for kind of a November bid, and then hope award by the end of the year is still the goal for that project. We're not really we weren't sure we were gonna get any construction this year anyway, and with contractors really struggling to get some materials, hopefully by that point they've got some, projections into next year, and we can get a little better pricing too, because right now prices are pretty high. So bid in November, award in December is
Right.
the goal.
And then go from there. Spring construction.
Yep, exactly.
And that goes from Clear Lake Boulevard on the west to McClung on the east, basically.
Correct,
Is the
yeah.
scope of the work that's being done to create that.
Well, really, it's Truesdell.
It's all along Truesdell,
All
yeah.
of Truesdell, and then the trail portions to finish what hasn't been completed.
That's a big project.
It is a big project.
Any questions for Nick?
And I have the plans prior to getting them our last round of comments. So if anybody wants to see them, I can get you a copy too.
Okay. No other questions? Nothing?
None for me.
Let's go to new business. Nick, you're right on track here.
Sure. I received just today a couple quotes. We've got some projects that are starting to move, and I don't know if we really planned on that much activity this year, but it seems like a good opportunity, and if the RDC'd be willing, I think these would be good small contributions into a couple larger projects. So the first one I have, I'll do ProDrive first. RDC, we've been working with wastewater, different city entities to do the North Boyd, we call it, but the Boyd sewer separation, which then in turn benefits all the industrial areas on the north side of Lincoln Way. One of the aspects of that project was a water main extension, and the water department went ahead and did that, but we do need to get some patching over where they installed the water main. So saved a lot of money by having them do the work themselves. So I got a quote. ProDrive is going to be in the area doing some other work, so they offered a quote, $5,318 to essentially fix the cut that was made to install the water main. Very reasonable price, really. I think would be nice to have it done this winter so that everything can hold up over the winter. So if the RDC would like to contribute to that, it'd be appreciated. It is part of the larger project along Darlington and Lincoln Way and Boyd Boulevard.
We gotta do two of them? Can we do?
Yeah, and the second one I have is
Might as well do them all at
because
once.
we are paving Boyd Boulevard using federal dollars. With the Redevelopment Commission project along Boyd Boulevard, we got caught at the end of the season and we weren't able to put thermoplastic down. The paint has long worn off. We intended with that project to do the thermo, and because we have, like I said, the adjacent federal aid paving project, the pavement marking contractor offered us a quote to go ahead and extend the marking, so everything would be done between Ohio and Lincoln Way. This is just for the section, essentially where the Redevelopment Commission project was, so just past Jefferson to Lincoln Way. But it would have a much longer life than the paint we put down that wasn't supposed to be temporary, but really doesn't last as long as we ever like. So
When would he do this?
they would do it with the paving project, which starts next Tuesday.
Okay.
So it's $15,231. And again, you can see even they built in one mobilization. If they need to come back out, there's an additional fee. But the reason they were able to even keep the cost down as much as they are is because they're already going to be out there striping for the other project.
Any questions?
So that's from just Jefferson to Lincoln Way.
This is the cost from Jefferson to Lincoln Way. Yep. The rest of it is covered by the federal aid project.
Okay. Is that a normal pricing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's essentially very similar to the pricing we have on the rest of the stretch.
Any other questions?
And I'm not, the paving part of it, where's that at exactly?
Yeah, so we are paving with a federal aid project, so that went through NDOT review and everything, and then they pay 80% of it from essentially Jefferson to Ohio. The road will remain open. They're talking about maybe some partial closures, which will coordinate with businesses. I know that.
Well, I think he's asking about Pro Drive. Aren't you asking about the paving?
Yeah, on the other side, but that was interesting to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah. Since I moved out of that building,
Yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah, okay. So it's about 1,500 feet long, 8 foot wide, and it's along the edge of Darlington Street where they installed the water main. So the water department put in water main, and we want to come back and patch where they installed that. So
I don't know where that is.
And do we have the funds to cover this?
yeah.
I need a motion. If you're all good with it, unless you have other questions.
I'll make a motion to approve the two bids, the one for Pro Drive for $5,318, and the other one for the air marking company for $15,231.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Any?
The 3,000 isn't gonna happen. That's only if they have to come back and do this, if we didn't approve it.
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
right?
and it's not anticipated that they will. So
Okay,
they just added that onto the bottom, so we
just
knew.
in case. Yeah,
But couldn't be an issue.
get it done.
Any further? A motion and a second. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0 then. Thank you. Other business. That's you.
Okay, so I would like to request that the Redevelopment Commission consider providing partial funding for a new comprehensive plan for the city of LaPorte. So essentially what this is a future land use and development, redevelopment plan for the city. We've got some major grant opportunities that we believe we have coming up for transportation projects and other projects in the next couple of years. Mostly federal funds, some state funds. And it's important, especially with the larger federal projects, to have documents that back up what you're requesting in terms of the grant funds, and basically prove to the entities that are considering the applications that you didn't just dream up something out of nowhere, that it's been something that's been discussed as the community priority, et cetera. And we've got a couple of opportunities coming up actually, pretty soon here with funding through our Regional Planning Commission for some roadway connections that'll help facilitate better traffic flow through the community on the north side of town, et cetera. I have some funding available through the city. Oh, sorry, first of all, I have the opportunity through the Regional Planning Commission to, kind of a unique opportunity to get a substantial amount of the funding through a grant that's available that would pay for up to 80% of the cost for the project, just like the road projects that we do. And we're having a conversation in November with the person who kind of manages the funds for the Regional Planning Commission, and we don't know exactly how much we're going to get, and so my intent is to take the money that I have available through the city, a request that I'm going to be putting before the Urban Enterprise Association for funding, and then I would like to request that the Redevelopment Commission consider funding up to, just depending on how much we're going to need after these conversations are done with the commission, up to $30,000 towards the overall cost. The substantial portion of the funding would be paying for the transportation aspects of the plan, because it's transportation funding that we would receive through the Regional Planning Commission. But there are some elements of the plan that benefit the community, like things like redevelopment, economic development, housing, recreation, kind of synthesizing some of the plans that we've already done in the community into one document for the purpose of this overall effort, as well as a land use plan, future land use plan for taking a look at how we want to redevelop the city in areas, as well as develop the portions of the city that are not already developed, as well as potentially the development of areas that are adjacent to the city but have utilities available. So at the end of the day, basically what I would need is approval from the various funding sources to accompany the documents that I need to submit with the application, which is due November 18th. And Nick and I are working on a few different applications for that various pots of money that are available through that. But that's, so I'd like to, it was, the last time the city did its own comprehensive plan was in the 90s. That document actually isn't bad. There are some things in there that we still talk about today and are focused on as priorities.
There's quite a few things that are done.
There are a lot of things that are done. Back in 2007, we did a joint, what we call land development plan with the county, and it was very county focused, I guess in all honesty. It didn't really kind of focus in at a more granular level on the cities, and it doesn't really provide the level of detail that we need sometimes for just basic things, even when we have conversations about things like use variances and rezonings and things like that. We just need a better document to kind of, you know, be able to reference when it comes to those things, especially these grant opportunities. There's some major federal dollars that we would hope to go for in future years to do, you know, potentially larger projects like those road connections that I talked about, potentially the north-south corridor, things like that. So like I said, along with other funding sources through the city and the Urban Enterprise Association, I wanted to request the Redevelopment Commission consider paying for up to $30,000 towards the cost of the study. And it would take place over a couple of years, 2023 and 24. It'll straddle those 2 years as far as the process itself. So the applications are due November 18th. We'll probably find out about the grants awards in the first couple of months of the year, maybe March at the latest, and then hit the ground running with the project as soon as we can after we receive the funds.
So what's the total cost of one of these redevelopment plans?
Anywhere between, well, ours is kind of a hybrid, so a basic comprehensive plan costs between $150,000 and $200,000, but we're adding a significant transportation element to that. That's going to involve some more detailed calculations and modeling to determine where some roadway connections we would like to make, how we offset traffic in various areas of the city by doing that. And so there's a higher cost associated with that element of it. And we anticipate that's somewhere in the $75,000 range. So altogether, you know, I'm going to be requesting probably on the order of about $150,000 from the Regional Planning Commission through federal funds, and the remainder would come from local funds from those three sources that I named over the course of the 2 years. So what I guess I'm requesting is to use 23 funds, Redevelopment Commission funds, to help offset some of those local match costs.
think from the nineties till now, I think we do need to upgrade it, don't you?
It's been a while. We have a few
Yeah,
things going on
what's
in
the
city.
usual span for cities when they do these? Is it-
They actually recommend, they recommend, now, it depends on the city, of course, but the recommendation is every 5 to 10 years.
Huh?
And the one in the county
Little
was done in
behind.
2000, was done in 2007, so it's even overdue. But it's time for us, I think, to have our own document that focuses on LaPorte.
Will it stay
and
within the city limits, or
It
will
would go outside the city limits. It would take into account areas that are either serviced by utilities, or through partnerships with utilities that connect to the city's utilities, and areas that are immediately adjacent to city limits that are likely to be annexed because of either existing utilities or immediate adjacency to existing city limits. So it would have a study area that would be larger than the city limit boundaries.
And it's
That's
like-
pretty common.
And it's likely the transportation component will be
Much
more
larger.
than just
Yeah.
city boundaries, because our system is not
So-
limited to our.
So
city
this will
limits.
help with conversations with the potential bypass or also
Exactly.
annexation?
The corridor, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And as well as we want to look at a couple of street extensions on the north side of the city to better facilitate traffic. And particularly what we're interested is taking traffic off of Truesdale as much as we can, as far as cutting through Fox Park. We think there are a couple of other alternatives that might be available to us to provide better east-west traffic. And the study would take a very close look at that as well. So, yeah.
So it helps everything involved. I mean, we got a lot of projects coming here.
Yeah, and it also, the other thing it does is it also shows potential developers. We're very focused on housing, obviously. We've got our 30 by 30 initiative, for housing. It also tells, potential investors that we're serious about the future of our city. There's a document that kind of, tells them that we have taken a serious look at all aspects of our city and, have thought very, closely about how we want to see our city develop in the future, so.
Are we able to get a copy of that '07 comprehensive plan?
Yeah, it's available on,
Just to look
I can
at it?
send
I'd be
you, I
interested
can
to
send you a
see.
link. This one would end up being nothing like that, actually. It was that plan was more, far more basic. It met the state law in terms of what you have to do for a plan like this, but, like I said, it's just no longer really serving us very well. But yes, I can send you the link to the county's land development plan.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
I don't know if our older plan, I'm not sure we have that in digital form or not, but
We're missing some figures in digital form, which I think
yeah, so,
we can get scanned in, but.
yeah,
it's-
so, yep, happy to do that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Betsy always asks, I assume we have the money.
Yeah, we have,
We have the money.
But somehow, some way, seeing some budgetary things, if we're spending money here, what aren't we gonna be able to do, or how much, we're voting on this stuff and saying, yes, let's do it, it's a good thing, but, I'd like to see, what our balance is that we have to say yes to the rest of the year. Are we gonna have to say no to a project down the line?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. I mean,
Yeah, and this would be built into professional services.
Yeah, this would be
probably over
professional
2
services.
budget cycles, so.
not,
there's,
this wouldn't have an impact on infrastructure dollars or anything like that. This would be professional services. So, yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, the city would be matching it, as well as a request to, hopefully, the Urban Enterprise Association providing some funding as well.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a good project, I just.
Make sure we have the money.
Yeah. Bert, you got
Where it's
anything to say
coming from.
about it?
About this?
Yeah. Okay. You all good?
Yeah.
Need a motion.
Make a motion to approve, what is it exactly?
Up to $30,000.
Up to $30,000 in a contribution
Towards the comprehensive plan.
for the comprehensive plan in 2023.
I have a second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Damon?
What? I had one more
Oh,
thing.
oh,
to-
sorry,
so-
sorry.
I apologize, I wasn't able to make it to last month's meeting, but I did want to kind of give you an update. I think there was maybe some discussion on the potential project on the south side of the Dietrich property, I think is the ideal.
We did have a
location
little
we're looking
discussion,
at.
yeah.
And I did want to just kind of note, I looked up kind of the documents we had, and in 2009, there were 503 tons of petroleum contaminated soils removed from that side of the site. So all the environmental documents we have show that the issues that need to be addressed are primarily on the north end of the site. The only thing is that entire area, whether it be, Kroger to Clear Lake North, we know there's a lot of historic urban fill material there, and a lot of times that was waste material from foundries. So whether it's slag or foundry sand, all intermixed with whatever other fill material is there. So there are elevated metals numbers, but those don't necessarily have to be removed. They can be capped, and that's all dependent on the construction plan. So just kind of keeping that site in mind and looking at what's there. The material that would have needed to be removed on its own has been removed, and then the rest of it would need to be determined based on the actual construction and what was going in there. Hope that helps.
That helps, that we don't have to come up with a big bill.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff's been done, is what you're really saying,
In that area.
in that
yeah.
area. And paid for. Any other thing? Anybody else got anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.